step as we go through this. But we're going to be talking about Google Scripts here. So this is session 3. If you're in the wrong session, I don't mind. It's okay. If you're not, welcome. If you haven't yet, hit that bit.ly, Google Scripts NYC. This is on all of my slides, so you'll be able to hit it at any time if you've neglected to do so. If you go to that bit.ly, you will find the slides. There's a form to fill out. You fill out that form, and that's going to give you access to my domain. That username and password that you get by email, I recommend that you go in incognito so it doesn't mess with any of your stuff, so that you're siloed, and you're into my domain with all of the attached stuff. I've also got this that it gets sent to you as well. So the Kickstarter question I have is, which of your digital tasks could benefit from automation? What is it that you guys do on a day-to-day basis that you're like, gosh, I wish there was a program that did that. I wish that that I could make something that would do something like this for me. What is it that you guys have? And I can refer to the live cube, or you can go ahead and shout it out. Yeah.
Detention, detention notice for the student, for the parent, even the dean who's going to be administering the detention.
Brilliant. And I'll throw this out there right now. You guys just filled out a form that had a name, and you didn't even need the email address, but if you created a form, you could automatically send those emails immediately to whomever it belongs to. So that right there with the script, very quick and easy. So yeah, great. What else? Yeah.
Creating different levels of student worksheets based on like stuff that's in a spreadsheet or something, like merge kind of stuff.
Yeah, differentiation sort of thing. Sometimes accessibility. We need student A to have a particular font. Student B has a particular font, different font type. We can immediately do that with a script. Yes?
Actually, very much the same thing. Any way to automate, once you exit from, let's say, this spreadsheet, okay, go ahead and run all of the scripts that are, I'm sorry, not all the scripts, but all the mail merges that are required for all of those documents.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, just to run through a whole sheet's worth of information to do something with it.
So I work with a tremendous amount of data that I have to clean up. So I have to delete columns, I have to delete rows, I have to add, certain things, and then I have to do a resizing of columns or something like that, and then I have to print it out. And it's, individually or something.
Every single time.
Right.
So wouldn't it be great if you just had a formula that you could click and it does it all for you?
Right.
Yeah. And I'll come back over here.
Email reminders about certain events for like parents or something. Like, I gotta email 20 of them. It'd be nice to just.
Yeah, single button click immediately here.
Do it. Email each one separately, customize it slightly.
Yeah, for each one. Each one gets maybe a little slightly variation of a customization of some sort. Yeah. Yeah.
How about real-time surveys? Really trying to engage parents around what kind of events that they want to do, different things. Getting into the habit, really surveying parents every week or so.
Yeah.
So I'm not a teacher. I work for the superintendent, so I oversee family engagement.
Yeah.
And that's where I see the gaps.
Yeah, being able to reach out to them very quickly, getting feedback that's actionable, something that you can do, and you immediately see it put together in a format that's meaningful, rather than having to go ahead and clean that data again. Yeah.
You can randomly generate student groups periodically.
Yes, and I love that you've brought up the idea of randomization. That's something that we're going to do together today, because that is something that comes into a classroom quite a bit. Is how do we do what we want to do, but we want it random. So we'll make a script today for randomization. You'll get to explore that. All right, so
poster sessions are in the library starting now.
Great, thank you. Okay, so you're not in the library, you're here, which is great, awesome. Have a way to have a script connect ATS to CSIS. If somebody would give me ATS access, I can fix that for you guys. I don't know why. Nobody's giving me that access. In CSIS, I'll tell you a bit about me and where I'm coming from. Student scheduling between, yeah, awesome. Yeah, with student scheduling, yeah, we can do a lot with student scheduling with automation, with scripts. Would benefit from a way to create multiple versions of a doc. Yeah, we just talked about that. Awesome. I love this. So you guys are all in the right sort of mindset for this. One thing, let's get this up. This is the cheat sheet. This was kind of floating around. Once again, if you haven't hit that bit.ly, do so definitely. It's on the bottom of all of these slides. Fill that form out. You'll get a username and password. Drop that in. Here's our agenda. You're going to set yourself up on the domain. That's kind of the very big part of this. If you start with setting yourself up on the domain, it does take a moment for my script to run because of how I wrote it. And I wrote it for you guys in particular for a reason. So set yourself up on the domain. Coding doesn't happen in a bubble, though we tend to think of it that way, is that there's a guy sitting there doing this all day, and my wife yells at me because that's what I do at night at home as I'm doing this. And she's like, watch The Bachelor with me, please. Oh God, okay. So we're going to have some quick introductions. I want you to at least have a connection with somebody that's at your table with what they do and such. Which of your digital tasks could benefit from automations? We started to talk about that a little bit. My entry into Google Scripts, I'll tell you why it kind of got me into here, which is kind of interesting. Demo accounts for domain access to scripts. We've been talking about that, but I'll just go through that really quickly once again. And then script writing and exploration. That's kind of my bulk that I'm going to hit with you guys. And resources. I have a bunch of resources that you can leave here with, to access, refer to, so on and so forth. I am happy to be a resource. I really love this stuff. I find it really cool and interesting. And a script playground. I got a little something to play with. So if you haven't done the domain, I think I've been hitting this quite a bit. Log in, incognito, use the form, get into that domain. That's very important. The reason is that many of you have your own Google domains, you have your own Google Gmail accounts, and the scripts that I'm sharing with you, because of Google's permissions, they're going to align with my domain, which is great for a school entity, that you're creating something that aligns with your domain. That means that what you're doing isn't going to jump out into the public sector. So I want to make sure that you're in my domain so you don't have issues going back and forth with it. So quick, turn to somebody next to you at your table. Name, school, position, any coding experience.
I am Margie. I teach at Tottenville High School. I do some coding and teaching basic computer science. Oh, you're in high school. I thought you looked young, but I wasn't going to say. I'm a young teacher. Okay. You do. What do you play in? The principals or the A? These are good. Okay. Oh, great. How'd you do? I'm sure you did well. You know. Are you going to take computer science A? What grade are you doing? Well, great. Okay, so this is good for you. So how did you guys HTML and CSS?
And wrap the conversation up.
Oh, okay, great. Just curious, who are your teachers?
So just by show of hands, anybody have coding experience? Okay, let's get more specific. Anybody code with Python? Okay. JavaScript? Okay. R? Cool. VBA, Visual Basic? Okay. All right. Anybody use the Microsoft suite of coding tools sometime? All right. Yep. Okay. Google administrators. Who's a Google admin? Okay. All right. Anybody teach coding? Okay. All right. So we got a smattering of a lot of things in here. Who's a complete newbie that has never seen a line of code before? Fantastic. Right. So those two hands right there, folks, do help and support. The great thing about this is that we can really automate a bunch of things. And we just did a quick share out. I'm going to skip this turn to talk just to kind of jump into what we're doing. So this was my entry into this. Jojo Farrell, some of you know him. He's working with DIIT, puts together these Google groups and things, and was always posting up about, hey, I want you to come to this Google meetup, and I had joined that, and one day I saw this post come up, and it said, who has been successful at creating a Google form that can trigger a calendar invite based on the response? Please share a copy of the form with us. Did you use Google AppScript, Java? Talk slowly, please, because this is getting over my head. We haven't done this yet, but want to, take a look. This sounds like a great breakout group for one of our GEG meetups. More on that soon. I tweeted or commented back, challenge accepted. That was in September of this year. Prior to that point, I had not looked at Google Scripts. Never saw it before, at all. Didn't even know it existed. And looking at what his information was there, he had posted an article, and just kind of poking around at what was out there. By December, I had an add-on that got published by Google to go ahead and do exactly what he's saying. So my add-on goes ahead and you add it to a spreadsheet. It creates the form that you want to use with this, and people will fill out the form, and it automatically sends them an invite for that event. It tracks the event for them. When they get that invite, if they say yes, it tracks that they're going. It tracks if it's a maybe, it tracks if it's a no, and then you can go ahead and rebalance your numbers as need be. So that was my entry within a few months. I was able to kind of jump into this. My sort of background, I taught theater for about 6 years. Prior to that, I was a talent agent for about 10 years. Got 17 Emmy nominations, 3 Tonys, and an Oscar. Left that industry to come into the educational world, and ended up doing programming on the side. Just kind of, it was fun. I thought it was interesting. And this is kind of where I've gotten roped into this sort of thing. But I've just done coding as a hobby, and then I got a position teaching computer science in the fall. I was like, you know what, this is an interesting challenge. I'm going to try this. I'll teach some computer science, and absolutely loved it, and have just dove headfirst right into the scripts sort of thing. So since then, I've had a great time. The past few months, I was at ISTE, and now here, and been doing these GEG meetups. So it's been a great time. So we're going to start exploring some of these scripts, and you can kind of follow along with me if you have everything open. So when you look at a Google Doc, a spreadsheet and slides, they all have tools at the top, and it says in there scripts. So if you click on script editor, you'll be able to create and build scripts just within there. Google does provide some really interesting things, and I'm going to just jump out of my slides, and I'll probably go off slides for a little bit. So this is a script editor. So if you're in this and you've seen this with all of your names, it looks like some of you are still being added to the domain here right now. So we're at 31. You guys are starting to still populate. So this right here actually has all the scripts that we're going to kind of work with today. You've been filling out that form, and this is the responses to that form. Within Tools, you can click Script Editor, and some of you have. You can see that it's also a collaborative shared space, just like all other Google Docs. So that means that I don't have to be the only one in there coding at the same time. I could have a bunch of students in there coding with me. But this is where we're going to kind of start. So what we have been working with is this function right here called add user. That add user is what's been kind of happening for you. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of the anatomy of a script. So come back here. All right. There we go. So a script. A script is kind of written like this. We call it a function. It does something. It's like I need you to run from here to there. So my function is going to be called run, or you run, something like that. It's just one word that we call. Within those parentheses, we don't have to, we can put in a parameter. So if my function is you run, my parameter would be to the door. Okay, so that's my distance that I'm going, or 50 feet, whatever it is. All right. Within those curly brackets there is the actions, what's going to actually take place step by step. So the very first thing that happens in this little thing here is that it sets a variable, which is, just like, x equals 1, x equals 2. In computer science, a variable is something that can hold all sorts of things. In this case, it's going to represent the spreadsheet that we were just in, those responses. SS is just my representation. It doesn't really mean anything but just the spreadsheet. Hey, this is the spreadsheet that it's going to be. And then my log here, a log is a really great thing because I sometimes don't know what Google's thinking, and so I need to grab what Google's thinking. So those of you that have coded, it's the console log. You can also use that. In this case, I use just the logger that's based in there because it's easy to kind of get to and reference. And it's going to get the sheet ID. It's going to get the ID of that spreadsheet. So if you've ever seen at the top in the URL, there's all that gobbledygook hash that's at the top. That's actually the sheet ID. That's the identifier of that sheet. Then it's going to get the active sheet and the active cell, and it's going to set its value to whatever the input parameter is. So now, if I wrote some name and I put Joe in there, it's going to, whatever cell that I'm in, if I run that in that cell with my little box highlighted, it will put the name Joe. Okay? It's kind of the anatomy of a script. Google takes this one further because I never remember all of that stuff. And if I was to write this function, so it doesn't even matter where I write it, I'm just going to write it in here. Function, some name, and I can hard code this as Joe. And I'm going to say that within these curly brackets, var ss equals spreadsheet app. Now the magic starts to happen. I'm just going to give a carriage return here. Let me get nice and big in here. Now, once I press a period, it starts to autofill everything for me. So whatever I want to do, I can start going, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. And all of these things that are here mean something. And I usually reference the document information just to figure out what everything means. I don't have it all memorized. But this gives me a start. I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I want this to happen. So what are my kind of steps that I can go through here? And it just auto-suggests everything that I need. So now I have the spreadsheet called here, and I can, do I have, oh, I missed my V.
It's actually at the top. Oh, yeah,
There we go. All right, so now ss dot get, what was my code there? Get active sheet, get active cell. So I'm skipping my logger. Get active sheet, because I have to get the sheet first. I could probably get the cell. Dot get active cell, and dot set the, and you can see I can set a whole bunch of things in here. So if we're talking about different font sizes for differentiation, different font styles, different font weights, it's all in here, and this is just a spreadsheet. So I'm going to set the value, set value, and I'm going to set the value to Joe. I'm going to use Joe in there. I could make Joe an actual variable if I wanted to, but we're going quick. So here's Joe. I stop everything on my line with a semicolon just to say, hey, my line is done. So now I have something called sum function and Joe. I'm going to come into here. I'm just going to go to a random cell. That's my active cell. If everything I've done has worked and we're good, run function. Where is, oh, you know what? I didn't save it yet, so I got to save. Use the floppy disk. Unexpected error has occurred. So it's telling me we have trouble saving. Please check your internet connection. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Let's try that one more time. DIIT. No, no, no. Okay. So as things go with internet and DOE schools, that's what's happening. But if, what's that?
Copy paste it on reload.
Yeah, I could do that, but I don't want to mess up anything else that I have. We'll just leave it like that. So this would work. This would go ahead and place Joe right in here. So I built a couple of other scripts that you can certainly take with you. I don't mind. This add user is the main one that you guys have been working with. So add user goes ahead and grabs the information on that sheet. So as you were filling out that form, your information has been going into that form. It looks through that form and it finds anybody who doesn't have the column filled in right here called sent account notice. If this column is empty, which we have a couple down here, so it might have reached a limit today with what I can go ahead and give to you guys. If it's reached a limit, I'm sorry about that. I can get you stuff other ways. But it goes ahead and gives anybody the access that doesn't have this filled in. So the script is run like this. We call the active spreadsheet. We get, I'm trying to zoom in for you guys. Sorry about that. There we go. So we get the sheet by name called form responses in this case. We set the column, and I have another function running called column by name. So it looks for the number of the column in the sheet that I've identified here called sent account notice, and it returns the number, whatever number column that is. And then I have the same for all these other ones so that I can go ahead and work through, get last row. So this is not something that you should be expecting to look at and go, oh, I totally get that. This is something that I usually sit down and go, okay, what the hell is happening here? And I start to pull it apart. I throw logs in. I'm like, logger this variable, logger that variable, just to kind of figure out what is happening. And then by the time I figure out what's happening, I can start to remake and rebuild. So this add user gives you an ability to immediately create that form system, form situation, and have that work for you. I'm going ahead and this is the primary email address, adding things to the domain, and the password is something that is a random string up here. So that's why you've gotten that weird random string. The user goes onto the administrator directory as user, insert, and then that user object right here. It goes ahead and creates some links to those files. And I have a body email, welcome to Google Scripts. You can follow me at, so on and so forth. It sets a utility with a format date, sets the value of when it was sent, right there. And my domain email gets sent, and the Gmail app, which is another little thing, just like that, like I did spreadsheet app, Gmail app, allows me to send mail, so on and so forth. So this has sent to all of you, not just the demo domain, but also your regular email, all of those documents and all the information that I've just sent out. So that is a big, long script, but it really is doing something automatically that it would take, if you think about it for a moment, that they're going to send you, they're going to give you their username, password. You're going to have to go into your admin domain, go ahead and add that user, go ahead and share out all of those individual files. That takes a lot more time than what this did. Okay. So classroom-wise, we'll take a look at this one. Slides, add students. So in this case, I have a script, and let's run it. Let's see if it runs, hopefully. Slides, add students. Here it goes, preparing. Run function, slides, add students. Yes? T-I-I-T. I'm just going to get rid of this. Let's actually reload. Will it let me reload? Oh, internet.
This is around normal speed.
Yes, this is around normal speed, I'm sure.
It takes a little bit.
It's the bandwidth. All right, so let's just try reopening it. Tools, script editor. Does anybody else have this open? Yeah? Okay. Run. Add slides, add students. Doing it? Running the function. Yes. So far, so good. Keep going. Let's check in here. Not see. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
See
yes.
those X's? X's are coming through.
Uh-huh.
So I've written, there is more efficient code out there. There's more efficient ways to write code. I've written my code very simply, very step by step, just so that you can have an entry point. Once you've started to get this, you'll find more efficient ways out there through other resources. So it's gone ahead and added all these people into a slide. So if I come into here, and you guys should have gotten an email as well, you have a slide deck that actually contains all of your names. Come on. There we go.
Oh, wow.
So all of you are now in a shared slide deck. So if I had a class and I'm like, okay, we're going to do a full class presentation, everybody's going to get a slide on the slide deck to work with. This is a way to do it. Wow. Okay. And that happened like that, barring internet. Okay. So once again, when we're down in here, I'm calling that spreadsheet. I'm saying, okay, show me what the last row of that spreadsheet is, okay? I want you to give me the active sheet and get the range of row 2, column 2. From there, and then I'm gonna get column 2 as 2 and 3, and it starts flowing through and goes after every line within there, and it creates a slide shaped text box of this size. It gets the text, sets that. Yeah, slides can be a pain to make, but this can make it easy. And then the share slides with students, notice that instead of going ahead and recoding all of that, I just put it in here into my script. So my script goes ahead and calls another script. So I wrote a script that called another script. And like we said with the that parameter, here's my parameter, slides get URL, and it's just represented as URL in this. So anytime that we see URL in this piece, it's going to be the slides URL that it's using. Then we have sites add students. So same sort of thing. Unfortunately, the new Google sites that's out there, which look really nice, are not ready for Google Scripts. Soon, very soon. That's what I hear. But we can go ahead and I can run this function as sites add students. There we go. Oh, service error sites already exists. Oh, so my apologies. Let's go into sites for a sec. As with anything with coding, there's always bugs, even if you think that there's not. My sites, come on. Or not. All right, so maybe we'll skip the sites. Deleted sites, is it still in there? No, browse sites. I have no sites, so why is it not working? Okay. This will work for you. I don't know why it's not working for me. I must have it someplace else. Let's call it
I have a question.
one. Yes.
Well, when you first started, because from here, even though I'm a tech coordinator and kind of seen stuff like this, it still looks a little bit intimidating to try.
Yeah.
What did you use? Did you like find a video, or did you? Is there a course?
I'll give you the resources on one of the slides here, but I just started to try. I just started to play. The logger was what helped me because I didn't know what things were or what it did, but then the suggestion was just add this or get this. And it was like, get what? What is that? And so I threw it into the logger to figure out what it was, and I went, oh, that makes sense. So I get something, and then once I have it, then I can set it to something. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Where does the logger output to? Is it the JavaScript
Sure.
console or what?
View logs.
All right.
So right now, you're seeing Google response exception, request contains invalid argument, so it's hitting some errors here. and I have errors captured that are pumping through on my logger. Yeah.
I didn't get your email.
You didn't get the email? It might have been at a limit.
Oh.
So Google has some strict limits of how much you can run through this stuff. Yeah, to avoid spam, especially the emails.
Your email limits
So-
are way higher if you have a Google organization thing. My high school does like student emails.
Yeah, that
So
that
the
makes a
limits
lot
are
of
higher.
Yeah,
sense.
if you have a person.
Let's try sites again because it looked like it had created. There it is. Google Scripts NYC. So now I have all of you, or most of you, on a site with your names on it. So if I hit into it, your name comes up. Okay. So, and this can be, I believe the old Google sites can convert now to the new Google sites. Let's go ahead and try that. Will it work? Share with the same people, start. I'm always about trying, you know, and it's going to take a little while, it looks like. So we'll leave that. We'll leave that and let that go. Do you have a question? Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, do you have, I guess, a list of frameworks that you use? I love how this is like chaining different tools together. So I'm wondering, is there a framework that you use to try to figure out what you want to automate?
I don't personally have one. It's as we have conversations, as I have conversations with educators, other things get brought up, and I'll show you one that I'm about to push out publicly that came out of a conversation with District 79. That was like, oh, well, why haven't we done that yet? So as there's definitely service errors, which does happen with coding. I did this. I will be honest. I did this pretty quick. So this one right here is actually running right now. So I was able to hook a timer up. So add user is on here for on-form submit. So every time that you're submitting that form, that add user is running. I also have one called always add student, and it's time driven by 1 minute. So those of you that got invited to that classroom, if you want to go to that classroom right now, go ahead and try and unenroll. You won't be able to. It's going to automatically invite you back to the classroom every time that you try to unenroll because I have the script running. And this can be helpful for students that, you know, we have those populations that, you know, you have one joker that's like, you know what, I don't want to be in your class, I don't want to do this, so they unenroll from the class. Well, they go home and mom's like, so let me see your homework, and they show the classroom and, you know, the class isn't there. Well, this keeps that class pumping, constantly being pushed in. So that they really can't unenroll. And this came out of again, another Facebook post that had come out that someone was like, hey, I need to know how to keep these students in the Google Classroom. How do we do this? So I wrote that to always keep the student in there, and it can be kind of nice. You can use things like this with the classroom, the course ID. You can get your classroom information. You can push students out to it. Just as much as you can pull them in. This is what Amplified IT has developed their software to do. So their software is very slick that does something that you can write the code for. There's just this level, and you know, you can definitely get the basics out there and get things going if you're working with this. And so I just have, this is, if you do end up looking at this a little later, this is a listing of courses that you can quickly return all of the teacher courses that are in there. If you're the admin, it should return all courses. Translate, the function translate. I have the document for the agenda that I can translate. So let me just pull up my translate doc should be shared with you. I believe right now it's in Spanish. Yeah. So we are currently in Spanish, and if I look at my code here, I have text English to whatever my language is. Language right now is Spanish.
Uzbek.
We need to know the...
Uzi.
What is it?
Uzi.
Uzi?
Yeah.
Brilliant. We'll give it a shot. Save, run function, translate. So it's going to translate this one, which is my agenda for today, into, hopefully, UZ, Uzbekistan?
Yeah. Oh, there.
It's coming through.
That's Uzbek.
Okay? So if you have students that need that translation to happen, that's a quick way for you to create that for yourself. You can take a document and translate it right there. You can have that script sitting in your domain, that any document that you're in, you drop it down and click that button on your, I'll show you, on your add-ons. You can have it sitting in here for yourself on your domain and translate it. You can have that pushed out to everybody in your domain very easily, that they can all be able to click it and translate any document that they need into another document. So this kind of opens up a whole bunch of doors of what you can do. And working with this, what I found is that there's very few things that are not possible. The answer is always, yeah, that we can do that. We just got to figure out how. And there's always ways. So the translate, and I think these are my extra functions here, a column to a letter. So if you want to have a column number into a letter, or get the column by the name, and create this piece right here is jumping over a bug that Google has. So Google has a bug with their work. So if you add an add-on, it asks you for the permissions. Classroom has a bug that it doesn't give you those permissions. So this is the coding right here that took me forever to figure out, so I'm giving it to you, you guys can have it, that will allow you to push those permission ask request. So if you include that just at the very bottom of your code, it doesn't do anything, it just sits there, but it pushes the permission request, which is the key to be able to interact with Classroom. So before we build together, because I think, yeah, this is gonna, my slides take you through some stuff, yeah.
I just came up with something. You know, one of the issues that we have in schools is how parents constantly change their phone numbers. Is there a script where you can send, all right, so let's say you fill out a Google form.
Yes.
Is there a script that can resend it out and say, hey, has your information changed?
Yes. Yeah, you can absolutely do that.
And they can update it.
Yeah, because all you're dealing with is SMS, and I believe that there's a couple of extensions out there that interact SMS-wise, text message-wise. So yes, that is definitely possible. I believe even Google Voice, if you interacted with a Google Voice, I like the Google APIs, the connections through Google. It's just much cleaner, and there's a lot of resources out there. So if you interact with Google Voice, that's going to be the cleanest way to do it. Then you push it out, and it comes back. There's a lot that's about to happen. Automation-wise, we just saw with Google, their developer conference. Some of you may have seen it. The conversation that happens between Google Assistant and the.
Sorry.
There goes the live feed. So they now, Google has the ability to have, through machine learning and AI, they have the ability to call up someplace like a hairdresser's office and make an appointment for you on your behalf. And it sounds and acts like a real person. And it's very difficult to tell the difference. And that sort of thing is starting to come out. They just announced this past week at Google Next that Google Sheets is going to interact with BigQuery. BigQuery is Google's enormous database of enormous data sets. We're talking like the US Census from 2010. We're talking massive amounts of information that it takes forever to kind of crunch through, and the BigQuery stuff works really quick, amazingly so. So they're releasing that natively into Google Sheets. So the ability, when we start to think about this in a sense of what we do with our students, that we're tracking their grades and their performances in multiple criterias. If we start looking at those data sets through machine learning, there's a lot more that it can start to tell us. And this is kind of the entry point and start. From here, you can move into things like TensorFlow, which actually you can train things to do things for you, automation-wise. So get this down and then step up.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So as of now, I have seen that this is for the online Google Docs. Will this script will work for the offline docs also?
If the doc has it included, it should. It should be able to, because all it is JavaScript. If
Okay.
it's a version of JavaScript. They're about to advance their version of JavaScript. So we're about to move, we've been in like a very old 2013 version of JavaScript with Google scripts. It's going to push to 2017 in the coming days. So we'll start to be able to use some newer JavaScript stuff. So it should be able to work.
Okay, second question.
Yeah.
Like while you are developing the script, like how you will test it, right? Before putting into the actual, you have to test it somewhere, right? So how do you do that?
I have my own domain, so it depends on what I'm building. You know, oftentimes it's just within my own stuff, and I'll push it out to others to go ahead and test. I'll ask them to try this. My wife is annoyed by me all the time because she knows nothing about this stuff, and I'm like, just try this, just do this. She's like, no, you're not clicking right, click over there. So that's kind of how I get through it.
So bottom line, you need to have a Google account, right?
You have to have a Google account to use this stuff, yeah. Yeah, it's part of the suite. So before we get into like building stuff together, this is just something I was gonna share with you. I built a way to, this is out of conversation, way to add announcements and full courses through Sheets. So you have your classroom that you build, and I teach 3 sections of computer science. They're all the same sections, it's just 3 groups of students. So I wanted a way to go ahead and duplicate that. This came out of a conversation with District 79 that has this curriculum that they have that they want to push out all the time. So I've built a user-friendly bar over here, and it allows me to go ahead and select my course. So right now it's Applied Digital Skills, and I can select the assignment that is published, and I can import that information. So I'm going to import this, and it goes into my classroom. It grabs the title, description, the points, all of that, pulls that in, and then anything that I have actually checked off here, it will push up into my new class. So you guys are in class Google Scripts. So let's see if it'll push up there. So I'm going to share to course, and I think, is anybody in that course right now?
Yeah.
Did it push?
Yeah.
Yep. So google.com. So that is an add-on, which is not that much dissimilar from just writing a script. You have to go through a few more steps and processes, and then it will become public. And this is going to go into the Google App Store, or the add-on store. So once I get this out there, probably the next week or so, you'll be able to go into the add-on store. You'll see this in there with all my artwork, and there you go. You'll be able to create a class, share the document with somebody. So you share the sheet with a colleague, and they can go ahead and import all of your class materials if they like. You can go ahead and retain the ownership of those materials, or you can go ahead and give them ownership of the materials themselves. So just a way to develop further content. So, and this is kind of where you can take it. This is like the next sort of level of that. So we're going to build something together really quick. Before I do, I should just hit the. You'll see that if you try to use these, there is some permission things. Right now, this is showing you enabling an API. So working with something like Classroom, I have to have extra advanced access. And so the slide deck kind of takes you through there. It's really, you just go ahead and enable it, and then you can get access to a whole bunch of stuff. These are the resources that I use all the time. Google Scripts references, this is the reference documentation for all of those suggestions. So all those suggestions, I'm always like, what the heck does that do? I hit that Google Scripts resources, I look it up, and it tells me, oh. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of work with that. The Google Plus, Google App Script, it's a community that is extremely helpful with building these things. If you're like stuck on something, throw something up there and they're great to help. Stack Overflow, another great resource. You push up there, hey, this is what's going on, this is what my code looks like. Am I an idiot, or is there something really wrong here? And that's how I got that script of this is how you get to Classroom, get their API access. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. The other stuff on the left-hand side, these are all learning exercises. So W3 Schools will take you through learning JavaScript. Code Academy, Learn JS, those are all resources to learn how to code in JavaScript if you don't know. Alice Keeler has scripts that she has written that she shares on her blog. Excellent. Ben Collins, also another excellent resource for this sort of stuff. Ben Collins is kind of like the guy to go to for anything with Google Sheets. Like, he knows everything. So those are the two blogs that I highly recommend with this. Amplified IT, they're also a great help. Andrew Stillman has helped me through some of this stuff. He's really awesome, great to connect with on this. So definitely recommend this. So here's your script. You can go ahead and write this out verbatim in your computer, and it will totally work. There are various ways that you can change this out if you'd like, but if you want to get a sense of what this is like to build a script, this is a great and easy way to start. And if this doesn't appeal to you, the Applied Digital Skills from Google also has curriculum for this. So if you go into the Applied Digital Skills, there is one for creating a editor for your docs, and this is something that you can teach with kids, is that you can go through creating something that will open up their Google Docs and highlight words that are high-frequency words that they select. And it goes ahead and highlights them programmatically. So, but I'm recommending this one right now because it's a pretty simple one to kind of get started with, and it kind of details itself out. So if you want to open your stuff and jump in, we got like 10 minutes, and it should take about 10 to 15 to really just write this out and give it a shot and start to understand what these pieces are doing. I'm here to kind of walk around and help you facilitate if you have questions on these pieces. Yeah.
You have to type this out, so you go to tools and then circle. Yeah.
Go,
To the,
right there.
that window.
Just that, yeah, go ahead and open up a
See what-
some
Get to the
new
right.
slide. No, it is not iPad friendly. That is one of the things with scripts is that you do need a computer for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like it just starts. Should we put this under slides?
Slides, yes, good question. Yes, this is under slides.
Yeah.
Sorry, so if you open up slides up at the top, hit Tools, and then you're going to see Script Editor. Are we there? Yeah.
We're going to slides.
Yep, just open up slides. You can work in my domain, you can work in somebody else's domain, you can be in the slides that you're currently in, the slides for me, and make a copy of those slides. You try to edit those, everybody will be editing them together. But if you see in slides, Tools, Script Editor. That allows you to go ahead and create and edit scripts. And if you have, even if you have these slides open, feel free to steal. Stealing is completely encouraged in computer science, strangely enough. It's the one area that it's like, no, you need to just grab what I've done because it's just going to be easier for you and you don't want to have to work through it. But this will give you a sense as to what's going on. I recommend that you try something like this, logger.log, and then put in here something else, like current index. See what happens.
So this Google script is platform independent or it will work only with Google Doc?
This only works with Google products, Google scripts. That's the key for it, is that it's their own amalgamation of stuff. You know, they took some JavaScript from here, they made their own, they have their own functions built in, so it's its own kind of entity.
Yeah, one more question, like this general question. I have seen in the function you are not passing data type. Like, do they have a data type or it's like JavaScript? Whatever you pass, it's okay. Or if you don't pass, also there is also fine.
Yes, that's a good question. So the question is about data type. If you're not familiar with data type, there's different types of data. There's a string, which is words. There's integers, which are whole numbers. There's floats or doubles, which are decimal numbers. So no, it goes ahead and determines what the type is. You can go ahead and change the type. So if you used the word string and enclose something in there, it'll make whatever your data type is into a string. So you can force it into whatever you need to. Is anybody feeling like this is over your head, that this is overwhelming, this is frustrating? Cool. It is a great place to sit in and recognize that, yes, it is. And if you don't try, you'll never have the ability to do this. So give it a shot.
Oh, I don't have all the tabs that you have. Wait. I'm in here, right?
Yes. So you're in view only, that's why. File, make a copy.
Okay, so.
File, make a copy.
Yeah, I don't want to knock his,
So you said run.
okay.
Sorry?
Oh, run.
And then run function.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I was trying to hit play. I guess
Yes.
that's
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally
So
fine.
run
Yeah.
function.
Play does all of them. So if you
Okay.
have 50
No, you don't have to do
behind there,
Gotcha.
it'll do all 55.
Oh,
So
actually,
now,
yes, you're right.
I wrote it on
So
here. What am I
you
supposed to
posted
be looking
each
at?
side
It just
of the
picked a random
function.
slide?
So you want to get rid of that function.
Like this would
You might have an extra.
Yeah, like,
Is this like
I'm gonna try it one more time.
So I did mine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it's 1, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Oh, it did?
Go
Oh,
into, so you have lines there, just go ahead and file, make a copy.
oh yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I'm
file,
sorry.
make a
You know what?
copy. That way-
The only one it didn't switch.
Sign into your calendar with tab, so it's.
Oh, no, it does, it does.
It did, it shifted all of them. I'm sorry. That's why I didn't notice, because I was looking at the first page. Yeah.
Put inside.
Absolutely.
Little scripts, and drop it in. Erase anything that's in there functional.
So I stole his code. And I just copied and pasted it. And
And then you put
so
it,
basically it goes like this, right? So we're gonna go to Tools, Script Editor, right? And that opens the next window. I just copied and pasted. I didn't do anything original. And then once it's in, hit save, and I ran it.
And if they do have an interest in
And
your
what
stuff,
it
they're
did
gonna come to you and
was
say, hey,
it shifted the order of his
buy it from you,
slides. So like here, this became the second
but they don't really
slide.
have full ownership of it. It's shared cloud.
This is all out of order. I think I can find the original. I know, I made a copy of it.
Yeah, just don't share it.
and then we do something.
Correct. Yeah. If you give them editing access to it, they can have full access.
There, here we go.
You give
What
them
you
view
make
only.
it do is inside the brackets, right?
Here's the original. Alright, the first page didn't change for everything else, but here's page 2, page 3, and if I go here, here's page 2, here's page 3. So this just made random, random slides. I'm also going to steal your script to create,
Please do, yeah.
to create
That's why
the
I've given you
usernames for
everything in there.
teachers. I mean, we generate it for the students, using, but for the teachers, we make, like, that's just great. Google form and it's
Yeah,
done.
grab it. I also provided you guys with a bathroom log. So the bathroom log also, it's editable. You can go ahead and hit that script so you can see the script that's in there. I've added the script onto the function script editor. Here we go. So there is a function up here called onEdit, which is checking to see if anything gets edited within the document, it will do something. So it's constantly watching for that edit to happen. But you can go ahead and go to the bathroom. There wasn't toilet paper here at one point.
So it was,
It's slow, is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's still there?
it's still
Or at
there.
least it was a few minutes ago.
Okay.
But in this one,
The nice thing is that there's a version history, so I can see if anybody deleted it. Or maybe this is my different bathroom log. That can be too.
so get the,
Bathroom log.
to get it to do the work, you put in.
My bathroom.
There it is. Thank you.
You put whatever you want,
My bathroom.
like hit active.
That's it. All right. So somebody is actually out at the bathroom right now, so nothing can happen until they come back. It actually links and locks into the user. So nobody can go out until they come back.
Yeah.
There it is. There's my toilet paper. So it's a quick little bathroom log here. So as a user of the domain, when you go ahead and click that, there we go. Somebody's in now. So if I click this, it goes ahead and takes me out. I don't think anybody else can click it now because anybody trying? Trying to click? Needs permission? Yep, you got to add permissions through that. And you probably are getting errors if you're trying to click it right now because I'm out. So I can go ahead and log back. I'm coming back from the bathroom, and now somebody else can probably go to the bathroom. So did anybody have success? Oh, Matthew's out. Anybody have success with the randomizer? Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you make it work?
Yeah, it worked well. I mean,
Let's see it.
okay, sure. Are you,
Come on up.
Oh, bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Access
I
to
have a
this?
USB-C.
All right. Well, I don't know. So let's do it this way, okay? Your randomizer is here. You have what slide deck is it on?
It's that one.
It's on this one?
Copy.
Okay, so we can see this really quick. And if I go to...
Here.
Oh, you have the USB. Look, everybody's
Oh,
got it.
everybody's like, here's the USB. Thank you. Yep. Yes? Are we in? Holding our breath. There we go. And if we go ahead and run the function, now we could go ahead and link this function up into the slides as some sort of an add-on of some sort. Run the function. We're on a different. Are we on a different slide? Run.
It changes everything except for the first one.
Yep, it's popping through them down here, I think. Let's try that one more time. Run. You know what? Let's test it as an add-on. See what happens. So installed and enabled. We're going to select the documents that we're playing with here. Presentation. Copy. Select. Save. Test. Let's see if it'll do it now.
It's just the first page.
That's the first page.
Yeah.
I think the way you have it set, the first space wouldn't randomize by the way that you have it.
Yeah, but everything else does work.
Well, we're close, so we can see now that we can keep playing with this, keep playing with the logs to figure this out. So you guys are seeing that there is a discrepancy. Let's just do a logger of current index. And save and run, view. Whoop, there's the log, 17. So it works. All right, thank you very much. I so appreciate all of you coming for this. If you would jump into that, the live stream, rate the session. I do use the data for trainings so that as I progress with this, I'm trying to take this thing to ISTE. So I want to be able to take the information, your feedback, to redo this a little bit, to push this a little bit further and dig deeper with others on this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.